night.
We laid in a ditch with water up to our knees. When we stuck our heads up, the machine gun bullets buzzed by. Charles Bennett, bugler.
At 5 a.m. the next morning, which was August 2nd, they stormed the woods again. This time the Germans offered little resistance. Having lost the critical high ground, they began to abandon their positions and retreat. The 126th Infantry, despite its heavy casualties, gave chase and advanced 7.5 kilometers more that day. To cover their retreat, the Germans left machine gun crews in strategic locations.
A sergeant observed an undamaged enemy machine gun tipped over on its side. Becoming suspicious, he took a private with him and upon investigation found 2 enemy machine gunners in a trench with coats thrown over their faces, who to all outward appearances were dead. After deliberation for a moment, they decided to take no chances, so both soldiers fired a shot into the bodies of the Germans, and to great amazement found both of them alive and playing possum. The Germans' courage and nerve had to be admired in spite of the fact that they were our enemy. They could have surrendered, yet they were willing to go through their little game and risk all for an opportunity to obtain casualties in our ranks. Captain Gonzer.
They took their objective by assault and held it until they got orders to proceed to the next objective, and so on, and so on, and so on continuously until 8 days later they had driven the enemy back 19 kilometers and had captured the famous stronghold and railhead at Thiem and driven the enemy across the Vesle River. General Hahn.
The bringing of the American troops into battle on the Western Front was the thing that finally tilted the balance in favor of the Allies. And the Germans themselves, in their high command, knew this by late summer or early fall of 1918.
After the 8-day battle, the regiment was relieved. Many of the men had not eaten for days. Equipment was fixed and the soldiers counted. Burial details were assigned. Colonel Westnedge's regiment had entered the battle with 3,376 men, and in 8 days had suffered 882 casualties.
Dear Daddy, I am in the hospital. I was not wounded in a way to lose any blood, but was what is called shell-shocked. A large shell exploded near me and just about covered me up, but not any of the pieces hit, as luck would have it. Shell shock is an awful thing, Dad, for it knocks your nerves all to pieces. I wouldn't be any good up on the front again, I don't think, for just the thoughts of a shell whistling my way makes me nervous. A fellow who is on the front as long as we were and who gets out of it without losing any blood is gifted. Private Richard Bogart.
My nerves are about gone. We started over to see the graves where Kleinfelter and the others are resting. I got as far as his grave and I went down in a nervous fit. The doctor came along and gave the boys a tag to send me to the hospital. But I didn't want to go, so they brought me back. Charles Bennett, bugler.
Quentin Roosevelt, an American flyer and the son of the former President Roosevelt, had been shot down earlier in the war in the area now held by the 32nd Division. After the Second Battle of the Marne, the soldiers in the division located his remains and decorated his grave. When President Roosevelt learned of this, he wrote to thank General Hahn.
I congratulate you, sir, on the great work of your division. Your men have hit hard. Will you please thank them for me? Theodore Roosevelt.
I feel better this afternoon. I went with another fellow over to Roosevelt's grave, and for a souvenir, I got a piece of his plane. Charles Bennett, bugler.
The Germans honored them, and they had a little white fence all around him. I've still got pieces of his plane. I still got little pieces of it.
In the ensuing days, the Germans entrenched themselves right where General Hahn and Colonel Westnedge had left them, in the line at the Vesle River. The relieving units, the 28th and 77th Divisions, were unable to dislodge them. What finally broke the deadlock was a flanking attack north of Soissons, made jointly by the now depleted 32nd Division and the French 10th Army in late August of 1918. The division, with some companies at only 50% of full strength, had been secretly loaded into French trucks and transported 55 kilometers to the new front. For this engagement, General Hahn and the 32nd Division were placed under the command of the French Army commander, General Mauglin.
The French say we are funny men, not afraid of bayonets, gas, or shells. But of a pick and shovel, they say we're scared to death. Well, they prefer the pick and shovel. Why is it the Americans have got so much more guts than any other nation? Charles Bennett, bugler.
Different countries have a different, they fight a different war. Americans go ahead. British will go ahead, then drop back. And the French are slow. Well, they were, isn't it 4 years or so?
On August 29th, Les Terribles and the French army attacked the German lines east of Soissons and began 5 days of furious fighting. After a series of attacks and counterattacks which involved fierce hand-to-hand struggles, the 32nd Division pushed the elite Prussian guards of the German army back 5.5 kilometers and captured the strategic town of Juvigny.
I sent Colonel Westnedge's word that an advance was to be made, and that if he were ready to make an advance, to do so, but that he, as the commander on the field, must use his own judgment in the matter. General Hahn.
Colonel Joe is idolized by the men of his regiment. In a fight, he is always found in the front ranks and has been seen on a number of occasions with a rifle going to it for all he is worth. One night he was discovered completely covered with mud in a shell hole between the lines. He had crawled in the hole after rigging up telephone equipment, and he hid there for 11 hours, sending and receiving messages. Reverend C.W. Merriam, YMCA volunteer.
He knew the enemy position by personal observation before ordering an advance. Chaplain Donegan.
The guns are going all the time. It's just like thunder. And the shells are hitting too close for comfort. Gas alarms are ringing about every half hour. Dead men and horses are all along the road. The smell just about makes you sick. Oh, God, it's hell. Charles Bennett, bugler.
A half hour after the time set for the advance, I received a message from Colonel Westnedge stating that he had reached his objective and taken a hell of a lot of prisoners. General Hahn.
After the loss of Juvigny on their flank, the Germans gave up the Vesle River and retreated to establish new positions. Following this battle, Les Terribles earned another nickname. Every time they appeared on a battle map, they were accompanied by a red arrow indicating they were piercing the enemy's lines. Therefore, the 32nd Division became known as the Red Arrow Division.
Wherever they were shown on the battle map in this war that was so quagmired and unmovable,